Hey guys, just got back from a long drive and I came inside, whipped out the stand, and I'm making the video because I want to share this with you. I don't necessarily know what I'm going to say. It's not really planned. It's kind of in the moment, spontaneous sort of thing. I actually pulled over on the side of the road and I was going to do it under the street light, and that was going to be the intro. I'll be like, I pulled over, I really want to make the video right now and share whatever wants to come out with you, but it just wasn't really the proper lighting. And I like to be completely visible for you, whether it be the eyes and the body, and body language is important. Most of what's communicated is actually nonverbal, so you can really get a feel for what somebody's saying based on how they're moving, and you can consciously move and kind of, but oftentimes I'm just like in the flow, or the body's moving, I'm not really conscious of it. Of course I can be if I choose to be, but it's obviously not. I'm just flowing out right now, and I want to share this with you because kind of in the feels tonight, naturally, because I had a heart-to-heart with a friend that hadn't seen in a few weeks, and I actually mentioned it to him tonight. I was like, you're the first person I've seen in a few weeks since the last time we met, and he was kind of like, what? Because a lot of us are used to interacting with people on an everyday basis, and right now I'm kind of living the hermit lifestyle, kind of just doing my own thing in my own world, and really just dialed in and focused and tuned in to the glory of life in the present moment, and just, you could call it a spiritual recharge, and just tuning into that inner tranquility, that spiritual silence, and that bliss that's always with us. And whilst I'm communicating with him, and also my grandma tonight, I was just sharing that with them, sharing that space with them, completely conscious of that existential reality, that beautiful eternal moment, sharing that with them. Whether they're conscious of it or not, I'm completely present and valuing them greatly, especially because spending a lot of time alone really allows you to appreciate and value other people's company. And I know sometimes I used to, and I'm sure many of us can relate to this, take other people's company for granted. Just kind of an everyday thing. You see somebody every day, you don't really think anything of it. Just kind of, you could call it route, kind of just like day in and day out. This is what I do every day. It's kind of habitual, unconscious, not thinking about it. But it's really good to take a step back and actually mention that to grandma tonight. It's like, I kind of could tell one in one ear and out the other. It's okay. I know my intent, what I had to say. I was like, Grandma, this is eternity. This is it. This, heaven and hell is not something that happens when you die. And of course, life and death are two parts of the same coin, two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. Death is always with us. The moment we are born, we start dying. So it's good to be conscious of death as well, because that also allows you to really appreciate the glory of life, this gift of life in the present moment. Shout out to ASA Quotes. I know you're watching the videos. I was watching one of their videos yesterday after they commented on my last video, and they had some Einstein quotes. And one of the Einstein quotes was, you can look at life in two ways. You can see all of life as miraculous, or you can see nothing is a miracle. Nothing is a miracle. Kind of that spaciousness, that silence, that space and nothingness. But it's also simultaneous with a sense of allness. It's like life and death, two sides of the same coin. And it's just like connecting with people in silence, in solitude. You can really appreciate the contrast once you take time to be with yourself and be your own best friend. And that allows you to really share that with other people and to value their company, to really be present with them when you're interacting with them. And I kind of just got the feeling, the vibe when I left there, that I want to share it with the world. I guess I actually mentioned that to him, like, I got a lot of love to give, and love is gonna find a way to express itself. You may not know how. It's gonna come out in some way, whether it be you're on a walk and you really value the tree, or just loving the life around you right now as it's revealed to your senses in the present, the blessings of this moment, or whatever you may be doing, whether it be simply just really enjoying a glass of tea as you drink it, as you sip it, appreciating the water, valuing the fact that this physical body is 72% water. So it really makes sense to be conscious of the liquids we're consuming and the quality of the water. I drink 100% distilled water. I have a water distiller. And I'm not going to get into that, that's kind of because, a lot of us have beliefs, and, some people, personalities have conflicting beliefs with other personalities, and, you may know something's true for you and really true for the human organism, and that may conflict with somebody else's beliefs and ideologies that they identify with, and that's okay. I'm not on here trying to tell anybody what they should do, and at the end of the day, should is a hypothetical, and I'm certainly not here to judge anybody or tell anybody this is what you should do, because really all we can do is lead by example and be practical, and that's the most practical thing we can do, is lead by example. And I hope I don't come off as ever suggesting something that is not practical. I know sometimes I just allow whatever wants to come out. Very open in that sense. I think it's really good for guys to see this, to see that, it's okay to express yourself. It's okay to be really tuned in and tapped into that feeling side, that feminine side of yourself. Because, typical stereotypes, what is normally considered masculine in modern society, based on what I've seen and observed and experienced, as far as this one's concerned, is stereotyped and polarized to being overly, gotta go after it, gotta get it, gotta do this, hustle culture, and kind of the grind mentality. And it's good to have that drive, but we want to be balanced, and we want to be conscious of these different energies within us, so they're operating at full force and in proper balance. We don't want to necessarily be polarized either which way, but we can if we choose to be, if we're conscious of it. If I want to throw on the running shoes and go out and get after a workout, I can do that, and I can be really polarized to the masculine, but I want to be conscious of it. I don't just want to be kind of at the whim of these different energies or different forces operating within us. Everything's fundamentally energy. Everything is everything. Everything's connected. We may view ourselves in terms of an individuality, and of course we all have that element within us. You could call it divine individuality. But at the same time, fundamentally, essentially, in essence, it's the same energy expressing itself as us. We could call it an electric energy, electricity, nerve force, vitality, elan vital, life force, sex energy, whatever the label. We don't want to get hung up on the label, but we can think of it in terms of electricity. It's intangible. What is it? I can't put a finger on it, but you can feel it, you can tune into it, you can tap into it, and you can build that energy up within you. It's a nerve force, or nervous system. It's absolutely mind-boggling when you think about it. Try to wrap your head around the human nervous system. And when you really get into it and see all the different nuances, you get to a point where you realize you can only go so far intellectually. You can only try to know something so much with the mind and with analysis before you come to realize that at the end of the day, it's more about witnessing it within yourself and feeling it, being it, becoming it, as opposed to trying to intellectually understand it. And of course, we all have that intellectual element, and that stems from a sense of being curious. Curiosity is wonderful because there's so many different avenues that we can explore, but if we're not careful, we can get lost in the rabbit hole and go down that forever. And it can be like a repeating cycle or a loop, distracting us from the reality around us right now, which is the glory of life in the present moment. As the cat's making noise in the background, you can be completely aware of what's going on around you while simultaneously focused. It's almost like different levels of attention. And when you commit to semen retention, if you choose to, which is building up this life force within you, same thing, practices like fasting, same thing. It's giving the body a physiological rest and allowing this force to build up within us. And it's the same for everybody. That's independent of individuality. That's an esoteric truth, an ancient practice that if we choose to do, we can realize these fundamental truths and tune into and tap into this source that is fundamentally indescribable. And we can try to describe it. And it's wonderful to do so, because really it's describing itself through you. And once you commit to these practices, your attention will be total. You'll be aware of all that surrounds you. And at the same time, you'll be able to be dialed in and tapped into whatever you're doing, completely focused. You realize the importance of where you place your attention. And we need not be thinking in terms of better or worse. I should place my attention on this. And of course, we don't necessarily want to give our energy to certain things that maybe not uplifting as far as collective humanity. Like watching the mainstream news, and there's a lot of things that are thriving off human energy being extracted from these, you could say, higher dimensional forces. You could call it demonic realm, where they're feeding off human energy. And that's real. And that's why we want to be conscious of this energy within us and where we place our attention. And the practice of seeing our attention will really allow you to tune into that. Your attention will be completely total and complete. You'll be able to shut your eyes and just really tap in and tune into the present moment. And feel that this is it. That this is eternity. And there's no way of really saying that and conveying that and expressing that, because it's really something that you just, you're out in the forest or wherever you may be. You're in your room and just really appreciating, giving thanksgiving for life. Your heart's beating, you're breathing. Maybe today didn't go your way, but most likely you probably have all your limbs. You have a roof over your head, food to eat, clothes. What's that Rolling Stone song? You may not have everything you want, but you got everything you need. And fundamentally, what you need is within you. And of course, we can appreciate the connections, the relationships, the world around us, what is manifested in reality right now. But we also want to be able to really appreciate the glory of life. There's so many different ways to express it and convey it, but it's ultimately a feeling. You could say it's a vibration, a frequency, just that sense of harmony, that all is whole and complete right now, and you're exactly where you need to be. That's a belief we can all affirm. You may not be where you want to be. You may have some desires and things you want to see, bring forth, and manifest and actualize in the tangible world. But that intangible source, that electric energy, is always with you. You want to be conscious of it and appreciate it and value it. And you can value that in everything around you, because it's that same energy expressing itself as everything. And the more you have within you through, proper living, maybe proper is not the right word, because, proper implies improper, right implies wrong. You could say conscious living, being conscious of your eternal relationship with Mother Nature and with this source intelligence. When you put that at the forefront of your consciousness and make it a priority to live in harmony with it, you naturally value all the life around you, including everybody, no matter who they are. A lot of us tend to, discriminate. I prefer to be around this person as opposed to that person. We all have that personal element, the element of individuality. And that can be one of the challenging things in life. Once you realize that spiritual part of you, to come full circle and interact with the world. And sometimes, some of us may tend to be, I know I used to be like in my own head and kind of almost like socially awkward. And, that's okay. We want to get to a point where we wholeheartedly and completely accept ourselves. Even we just, mispronouncing that right there. But you can't fundamentally make a mistake. It is really only a mistake if you don't learn from it. And we want to just accept ourselves completely. And naturally, it's going to reflect as you accepting everybody and everything else. And, not judging anybody. Of course, we could say discriminate, but it's not really discriminate. It's kind of intuitive awareness of, I'm drawn to this, and kind of repelled from that, and you let that inner voice guide you, that awareness guide you. It's like a scrutinizing awareness that allows you to differentiate and discern and discriminate between that which is pure and that which may be looking to feed off you. Because that's out there. Like I said, the demonic realm, there's a lot of vampiric vibes in the world. People looking to thrive off your attention, your energy, whatever it may be. But naturally, when you start to live rightly, consciously, you'll find that stuff kind of just is not any longer a part of your reality. Because the world is an extension, a reflection of your consciousness and how you see the world. How the world is not necessarily how it is, but how you view it. The cause is within. It's always within. Some of us may tend to believe in the world around us as if the objective reality is all there is. But we really want to see it as a manifestation of our body of beliefs, we could call it, our mental body. Everything around us was once a thought in the head. Everything is mind. But at the same time, it's transcendent to the mind. It's started in the mind of its creator, whatever is manifest in this world. But it came from an intangible place, an unseen reality. The building that I'm in has no power to create anything. This physical form, which is pure solid, but it's mostly empty space. The building can't create anything. It doesn't have of course it has a source intelligence intrinsic to it. It's intrinsic with everything. It's an extension of that which is within us. But it doesn't have the power to create anything. That power exists within us. And as an extension of that source, of course, we have the power to create whatever our heart desires. We want to listen to our inner voice so that we can discern between what we could call lower desires and higher desires. Heart desires are desires of the flesh, we could say. Selfish desires, as opposed to wanting to spread and give your energy, your love to the world. And there's so many ways you can do that. Like I was saying, you just appreciating what's before you right now. Whether it be a tree, or appreciating the wood around me that came from a tree, that is all living fundamentally, because it's emanating from that same space, that same source, that same intelligence that's all around us. that's in everything. And we can really feel that and embody that when we commit to living rightly, consciously. And we do that by, not being slave to technology, us using it rather than it using us. Not being slave to certain vices, animalistic tendencies. And of course, we need not beat ourselves up or, find fault with our basic human drives, we could say, our lower desires. But we don't want them to rule us either. You want to try to find a balance. And, that's kind of putting it lightly. I'm kind of tend to be polarized into going all in and, being in the higher energy centers, you could say. Higher doesn't mean better, but, each of us is here to discover. I say discover rather than decide. There's a nuance there. Discover why we're here and what we can bring to the world. Allow that source to flow through us, that energy to express itself in however it wants to. It's really a state of surrender, a state of allowing, instead of trying to control and force and I want to manifest this. And, you reach a space when you're surrendered. It's a heartfelt space where you just kind of like, Lord, work through me. I surrender unto you wholeheartedly. You do your will. It's fundamentally, we can see that in everything, in everybody. Even people operating from that space of what we call vampiric energy. That's still, everything's in harmony. And thus, like I said, we're right where we need to be, even if we don't feel that. Even if it's not where we want to be. Trust me, you are right where you need to be. But we want to act consciously and live a life of harmony. We can do that by really understanding this nerve force, this electric energy within us that is powering our nervous system. In India, the spine is called the axis of the universe. It's really the altar of God. This force that, we can call it whatever. There's a lot of stigma surrounding that word, a lot of images that confine people in an intellectual box that limits them. And we want to understand that, like I was saying, everything's mind. The world around us first started as a thought, concept, an identification in the mind of its creator. Likely something that's followed I am. So whenever we say I am, we're identifying with something. We really want to be conscious of that. In conversation, oftentimes I observe people saying, I am this, or like grandmother the other day, she was saying, I am old. And I like to think of myself in terms of being ageless, agelessness, that sense of eternal bliss that is never ending. It's not subject to calendar years. Because we're going to manifest whatever we identify with. Thus, we want to be conscious of what we say I am to. Because the power of the mind is real. All the cells of the physical body are going to respond to what the mind says. We want to think with our higher selves, not our lower selves. You could say that, when we fast, for instance, I like to think of myself as thinking from the higher cells, the brain cells, rather than the cells at the bottom of the stomach. The bacteria in there saying, feed me, I want this, I'm accustomed to this, I want this sugar, I'm used to the food habit. And it's good to really practice doing things that sometimes might make us uncomfortable. And I was having a conversation with my buddy Henry. That's what inspired me to make this video, having that heartfelt conversation and just really just leaving there and feeling, this is it, and sharing that eternal moment with him. And just, it's a beautiful thing when you appreciate that and you appreciate people's company. And we do that when there's a sense of humility, a kind of a let go, a surrender. But there's nobody to claim that they're humble, because it's not emotion. It's kind of just like a surrendered state where you're heartfelt, and there's really no personal self-image present. What could be more humble than that? A vessel where there's no personal me trying to control everybody, trying to control the things around them. Kind of just very let go and relaxed, at ease and at peace. And we could say that's bliss, completely content with what is. That's happiness. It's always with us. It's not something outside. It's not conditional. And just that sense of, everything is all right the way it is right now. I may have had a bad day. We could call it a bad day. We could tell ourselves that story. But hey, it need not go that way again tomorrow. We can wake up and, just with a sense of zest and joy. This is another day that the Lord woke me up today. There's a lot of people that probably died in their sleep. Think how many people died today. Good to be conscious of death. It's not just an idea that, some of us may think that other people die. And a lot of us may live our lives that way. But when we understand that, this human experience that we now embody is not only temporary, but it's quick. It happens in an instant. In the context of eternity. In the context of what we all are fundamentally. That state of awareness. That is the pure essence of subjectivity. That is constantly the witness of this human experience that we now embody. Thus, it allows us to really appreciate the glory of this moment now. Wherever we may be. Whatever we may be doing. However our day went. We're breathing. Our heart's beating. Thus we can be thankful. Give thanksgiving. And really feel it. If you need to close your eyes, just close your eyes and focus your attention on the heart. Put your hands on your heart. It's beating. It's a miracle. It really is. I'm telling you. It's a miraculous. This thing we call life. All around us. And everything. This energy. Take care, guys.